Welcome everybody to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a movie. It's going to be a movie, and that movie is The Marvels. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, I was trying to think of something pithy and interesting to say, but like this movie, there's nothing.
I was just going to segue into that exact same thing, but I'm glad you did already. Yes, The Marvels was quite a disappointing film for both of us. But
yeah,
just how low are we? Between the two of us is, I think, going to be the more interesting conversation.
Yeah, who's below?
But go for it.
I thought this was actually like I'm pulling this up just because I actually felt like it kind of surmised how I felt pretty well. This is from Matt on Letterboxd. Thank you, Matt. It was a 2.5 stars. Objectively terrible. Very apparently hacked to pieces in post. Barely a movie. I didn't hate it. It's amiably goofy, and the cat stuff is kind of funny. I'm kind of at that point.
Stuff is kind of funny.
Is funny, yeah. And I thought there's some really interesting ideas within it. And if you maybe had a whole movie idea here and went forward with it, it could be something interesting. But unfortunately, it's obviously cut to hell. Yeah. I will say this.
This movie had extensive reshoots.
It had extensive reshoots. I will die on this hill, and I bring it up on almost every podcast now. A movie can be great and be 1 hour and 45 minutes. You can't start from a place though of having the idea of this is gonna be a 2.5 hour film covering these topics, and then chop it all the way down to that, because there is obviously things missing within this film.
And we noticed one of them in the theater.
And I think, and
I was like, wait,
that
what?
was the most noticeable because at one point, Miss Marvel goes through a portal in her outfit and then comes back in her she goes through the portal in her superhero outfit and then she comes back later in her regular outfit. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I realized it was to hide her bangle in the next scene. But then it's also like, did they cut something, or are they just that bad? They just needed a reason
the sequence of events is out of order here. Like,
it doesn't make any sense. And I think the mechanic of them switching between each other because of the powers is interesting and makes for some pretty cool and fun action scenes.
And I thought that, that scene where they're switching between Kamala's house, that ship, and
so it's between Saber, Kamala's house, and the Kree, whatever, like
the Kree ship or the base. Yeah, I thought that was cool, but again, we saw like half this movie in the trailer.
Yeah.
A lot of the lines and the moments, like, I was like, oh, that was in the trailer. That was in the trailer. That was in the trailer. Yeah, we saw this in the trailer. Like, I just kind of felt like, I'm like, yeah, I've seen this whole movie in a trailer already. And its runtime,
big beats, yeah.
I think doesn't help that, because there is like not much here, but also, like you said, it's chopped to hell. So it just like doesn't really help the case.
Yeah. So like, and I think they took a challenge this time, Gooch. They were like, you think we can do a shitty villain? Hold my beer. What's the name of this villain?
Darben.
She can create portals in the sky.
What's her motivation? She was there.
See, like, I actually think
she was there.
I think her motivation is interesting, and I think that there's an interesting idea there. And this whole plot point of Carol going back after the first movie and doing what she said she was going to do, destroy the Supreme Intelligence, which was a cool scene. But again, that should have been a movie. Like, that should have been the movie.
I think it's funny. So only me and Trio went to go see this together. And it's funny. We were doing a lot of talking, like, while the movie was going on, and being like, literally, that scene happened. I'm like, it sounds like we just didn't get a movie where we needed to get a movie.
Well, and it's sad because I feel like they don't know what listen. I kind of hate the conversation around Brie Larson because I think there's two sides to it. I think she didn't help herself a lot at the beginning, especially with Captain Marvel and putting her foot in her mouth and like just making stupid statements. Then there's also the other side of the coin where people are just like insanely like fuck you to her to a degree where I'm like, all right, stop taking it so personally. It's gonna be fine. She can be a great actor. I've seen The Room.
I agree.
When she's directed well, she can kill it and she's awesome. I felt like they just don't know what to do with her characters in these movies. The first one, she was very.
They're not really giving. Captain
she doesn't
Marvel
have a growth really. She has amnesia, but she acts the same as she did before she has amnesia. And then she ends up being there's not just much character there. And I felt like even in this movie, they didn't know what to do with her. There's this whole kind of plot line between her and Monica about why she didn't come home to visit her after her mom died and like where she's been. And I was like, that's a cool thread you can pull on. We get one scene with it. And then it's kind of just, it's done. Like, I do think there are some legitimately interesting ideas here that just, again, they didn't flush out, and apparently they don't know what's going on. Kevin Feige, I'm hoping it's the Disney higher-ups that are making him be in 8 different places at once, and he's not losing his touch. Because it just feels so weird that he could have such
highs
and lows. Like, go from such a high that was 22 movies of getting to Infinity War in this methodical way, which you can go back and watch. And by the way, you don't need to watch all 22 movies to get to Infinity War. Would it be cool? Yeah, but you can watch 12 of those and it's still like reasonable, and you can actually get something good out of it.
And just kind of interject really quickly, I think that's kind of one of the issues with the Marvels is to be able to watch the Marvels and ingest it in a proper way. And I know you said it's fine, you don't. You need to watch WandaVision, Captain Marvel, I guess Endgame would help with her stuff, and Infinity War. And then Miss Marvel. Like, there's a lot of more show watching than movie watching. But, but then again, it's like, I feel like they expect a lot of people, like, they're really expecting people to know what's going on, which is good and bad. Not bad for us, more good for us. But I'm just saying, it's like, these movies are really loaded. And then they just kind of forget about other shows. Nick Fury, I think, just forgot Secret Invasion happened.
We talked about that.
And so did the rest of the movie, because if the last time I checked from our Secret Invasion review, the Skrulls were almost,
almost tried to take over the
There
Earth.
was almost like a genocide against the Skrulls at the end of Secret Invasion, where the U.S. government is putting a hit out on them. And we're
aliens in general.
We're gonna take the Skree that were displaced from this this destruction of this planet. We're gonna take them to Earth. What?
By the way,
with New Valhalla or whatever.
Those
with,
people
Valkyrie.
that are living
New Asgard.
Yeah, those Skrulls that are living in that colony. Looks like there's some room on that planet.
Right.
And can no one go why aren't and I get
Nick Fury's
hit I'm
so
trying
much that hey, not every Skrulls on Earth. There are some outliers, but
you can't find one other planet.
This looks like not as disparaging as we were making.
Looks like you could easily put a bunch of other people on that planet. Like, it's a colony. I don't know. It really, that was the biggest misstep here. It just felt like Infinity War or Infinity War, Secret Invasion.
A lot of
just
secrets,
felt like
wars.
It didn't happen at all. Nick Fury just felt like Nick Fury from 2 movies ago. He felt like he was the same guy.
I just hated how he was like a joke machine.
He definitely was, and I actually, I enjoy I enjoy his presence on screen most of the time. So I don't.
Sure,
I think that's I think it's a fair and very reasonable criticism. But yeah, he really is there to just kind of make a quip here and there, and it's just not used very well. I don't think they're really. I was gonna say they don't really use a lot of humor to undercut serious stuff in this, but there's not very many very serious moments that are able to be undercut. Because there's the moment of where it tries to get a little personal between Monica and Captain Marvel, but again, it's just there and gone. You can tell that there was a lot there that probably was written in and they just took out.
One of my biggest issues kind of with that relationship, and I guess with the way Captain Marvel has been portrayed in the MCU, is we really don't know anything about Captain Marvel. We just haven't got enough time with her. Like you said, with her first movie, it was she has amnesia and she's getting over that. So it's okay, we really don't know this character yet. And then in Infinity War and Endgame, she's hyped up to be this big sort of powerhouse, and I guess she is in a way, but she almost does nothing.
But it's almost weird. They felt like they had to keep her till the last second because she's too powerful. Yeah. And then they use her for the moment.
And then that's it. Yeah, and then Captain Marvel has absolutely no character development in Endgame or Infinity War.
She gets a new haircut.
Yeah, and then she grows it back out.
Yeah.
And then we get to this movie, and like you said, Captain Marvel still doesn't have a lot of time to develop as a character.
She's the idea in this is that she's kind of battling with the idea of, she's called the Destroyer. She's like, don't call me that. Annihilator. I don't like that. It's
Yeah,
But you
and
did,
because she destroyed the
hive mind or the Supreme Intelligence.
Yeah, and that's Darben. Like she was like one of the soldiers there, and like that's her motivation.
And then that causes the Civil
Captain
War
Marvel
that like
and stealing planet's resources to get Hala back on track.
Yeah. So like this, and the idea is once the Supreme leadership dies, there's a civil war that ensues. It destroys their planet. That's interesting. I would have liked that to maybe be the third of her movies. The second one would have been cool if she was taking down the Supreme Intelligence and like working through all that. And then we get to this part in the end. I don't know, like giving that 20-year break between the first one and like the others. I thought the idea was that you could use that as a fill time and go back and tell us stories and things like that. But I don't think they were confident in her character enough to do that. And then they were like, well, let's throw these other two in it.
And then you have the Brie Larson being like, I don't know, do people want me back? It's like, Brie, stop.
That's one of those things where I'm like, why are you not helping yourself?
I'm like, you are not the problem. I know people have a lot to say about Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, but I'm like, it's clear that like they just don't know what to do with you, and then you're now
doing these things aren't helping you. Like,
right.
Yeah, like I don't know.
I don't really like just how Captain Marvel's been used in the MCU. It really has nothing to do with Brie Larson, but Brie Larson can be very annoying to kind of take the public circuit. And I wonder if anything would have came out if the strike hadn't been up and this movie actually got the red carpet and the marketing treatment. The strike ended right as the movie came out, and they did like a few things, but obviously not, the usual press junkets.
Yeah,
and shit.
They went and like visited people in the movies. And listen, I think she could be something cool and interesting. I do think that character in general, though, is like it's like Moon Knight. There's a lot that they could pull from. And it's not a very linear story where like this is her origin and this is like they have a kind of set one now, but back when that was being more developed, it was much more scattershot and stuff like that. So I think there is something in that where you got to pick and choose what you're going to be inspired by and what threads you're going to take. But there was an interesting point in that Variety article where it's like Marvel built their brand on these B, C-list characters with Iron Man. I mean, it's easy to forget that Iron Man was, he was a notable comic book character, but he was by no means a Batman or the character of the Force he is today. But like that's not working this time around. Captain Marvel isn't working. Mm-hmm. People, they're already not very not excited, but what's the word? I mean, they're reshooting a ton of Captain America. That means they're probably not as
confident.
Thank you. God, I could not figure out the word in it. And Thor is there, but they had a misstep with Love and Thunder, which still kind of blows me away. Because I don't care what you say, Ragnarok's awesome. And I think it reinvigorated that character to like a degree that it needed. Yeah. And it was very well executed. But Love and Thunder just went too far that direction. And got too goofy.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they lose it. Because Chris Evans does the charm, he does the serious well. Yeah, I'm sorry, thank you. He does the serious as well as the funny. That moment in Infinity War where he's talking to his mom as Fat Thor, and he goes kind of from like being jokey to being like super serious and having like a legitimate conversation with his mom. Like, he's got the range.
Yeah.
But I digress from Thor.
Going back to the Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau thing, and I mentioned this to you, and I definitely want to mention it on the podcast. I'm really upset about, like, I know we don't need to be hashtag it's all connected and everything like that, but I just don't understand how Captain Marvel, who is, one of the people to not get snapped, she's there for 5 years, to some degree helping out the Avengers and kind of keeping order to the universe, I guess, the galaxy, as to Thanos' eradication of 50% of people. She would know Scarlet Witch to some degree to get familiar with her, to probably call her a friend, colleague, there's some trauma bonding here that I think Marvel is not addressing. And since Monica Rambeau debuted in WandaVision and she got her powers from her Hex, and she has a lot of history with her, it would make sense that when Carol
like Fury would check in with Fury or something. Yeah.
No. It would make sense when Carol asks, "Hey, Monica, like, how did you get powers? Like, you didn't have powers before." Yeah, I know she says it like from like a witch's hex, and it's like, okay, like she
There's
knows
a
what that
pithy
means.
way to say,
but I'm just like, you should bring up, be like, yeah, like we had an altercation with like the Scarlet Witch. It really didn't end well. Like, did you hear what happened about Wanda? Because I assume that maybe it's common knowledge that Scarlet Witch is dead now. And, her to have like some sort of reaction to that would have been like really necessary, or is really necessary in my opinion, but they just seem to skip right over it. As
they do just say, and that feels like reshoots where it's like, maybe there was a scene where she goes into more depth of that. And
right. Like you were kind of talking about moments of development between the two. I think that would have like
that's where the more could come from. I agree.
To get closer of like, wow, like, holy shit, like I had no idea. And that could also go into, I know you're not really around and you weren't, and you haven't been. That's where that line could have went. I just wrote it live on the podcast for you about how Monica could have been like, like you haven't been around. And
imagine if you gave that to a professional screenwriter, what they could do.
Yeah, I mean, but like I will admit the chemistry between all the actors, the Marvels, is great.
It works well.
Amon Vellani is awesome
the star,
in this.
I think. In my opinion,
I think
sure.
she really works well. Like, her character is kind of cheesy and cringy a little bit because of the age and like the oh my god, it's Captain Marvel thing. Like I get it. It's kind of stereotypical, but I think it does work. I think her and Captain Marvel has some pretty cool moments of like Miss Marvel's like this is her first like or maybe like second like actual like superhero like altercation, and she's trying to save everybody, and Captain Marvel's like, you can't. You got to realize that.
Like you're not going to be able to save
You got to
everyone.
make priorities, and like the situation
we need to save who we can.
on that planet was pretty bad. And then that kind of drains their morale. But also seeing them like try to figure out how to fight, and while their powers are kind of transporting them all over the place because the bangles being activated, like all their powers are connected because they're light based.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's what like so when they both use when one of them uses their powers, when they use their powers at the same time, they switch. Yeah, I know we were trying to figure out.
I was confused at the moment too, a little. Yeah,
and like again, like that gimmick is pretty cool and it's interesting. I think they tackled it in an interesting way
for sure. I wouldn't even call it like again. I think that could be a cool mechanic because I guess I use gimmick in a derogatory way, but I do agree. Like I think it creates some cool action scenes, like we said, but you need the story on top of that to make it worth something, and by the end, it's just kind of like it's over. Like they ripped a hole in the multiverse because these bangles were apparently. I thought that was an interesting idea.
They're the quantum bands.
They're the quantum bands,
which is like a big theory. So that
so then that makes sense. They were used to create the what do they call them, jump points throughout
jump gates,
the universe. That's interesting, but she's only using one, so they're creating like destabilized ones. But like, why does her using it at the end create a more destable? Wouldn't it create just a state? I guess it's because she's creating too many, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's kind of
makes sense.
And she's like overloading them in a way because I guess she's like literally sucking resources out of a planet.
Yeah.
And we do go to that. I have to admit there are two really Disney-y things in this movie. The one is the sing-along planet, which was like, what the fuck is this? Who wrote this? Who decided this was a good idea? What a dumb fucking thing. And then the Flurkins having to eat the entire Saber crew. And
I like that one better.
Like, okay, I like that one better, but I'm like, this is so Disney. Like, it's really annoying. Like, I just
didn't feel Disney to me.
Okay.
I guess the singing planet for sure.
Yeah,
but all the cats eating everyone, I don't know. That just felt like more like it was funny to me because I'm like, why did he spit that guy up? It was Schrodinger's cat. They show the cat throwing up the guys in the ceiling in Kamala's like house at the beginning. I'm like, he doesn't just kill him. But then I was like, oh, that's what they were setting up apparently, which is fine. But Chekhov's cat. That's what it's not. Not Schrodinger's cat is the.
No, Schrodinger's cat is.
No, that's if you're allowed. Chekhov's gun is like when you show the thing and then use it. I felt like that was. Yeah. It didn't like. It didn't. I didn't like hate it, but like I was like, I think it's an interesting idea.
Like,
but
okay, like here's Saber, like the predecessor to Sword, and like we don't get any information on it. I'm just like, oh my god, what is Saber exactly? They name it and they tell it. I forget what the acronym is. I can't
remember.
I think Kamala's parents ask her that, and she gives information on that, or Monica Rambeau does, and Fury's like,
that's classified. Again, it's a jokey thing from
right. So it seems Saber is pretty top notch. And then
but they have a space elevator,
right? They have a space elevator, which I guess we knew about from Secret Invasion. But then I'm like, people are like constantly traveling in and out of
They're
Earth's
not
atmosphere,
seeing this,
and like nobody knows about this.
Maybe they think it's just a space station. Maybe that's I don't know.
I'm like, this seems like there's way too much traffic at this planet.
But again, it felt like that.
Who is coming here?
I felt like that throwaway joke line was just put in, and they didn't even think about it. They were like, because I think almost at the beginning they were like, well, yeah, everyone knows about Saber because there's a gigantic fucking space elevator. But actually, no. What Fury should say this funny thing here, and say, don't say that, it's classified.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and not actually talk about like what this is, or does he need to do that there? No. I think Kamala's parents were fine. I think
her family's great. I do.
I
They
think
work
it makes
very well.
sense, and like they are like a humor undercut. Like, they provide some levity to the situation.
I really think. Oh, sorry.
It's funny. Like we've kind of talked about the whole movie already, except the ending. Which,
yeah,
we'll
and I do think
together.
the person who gets the shortest end of the stick here is for sure Monica. She's just kind of setting her up for things to come, I guess. In a way. And I mean, again, you get the bit of a closeout with the Captain Marvel stuff, but
and I do like how like it seems like Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel are kind of like close, and like I guess they've bonded a little bit. And
for sure.
I like Carol's kind of growth at like when she apologizes to, I was about to say Iman,
Kamala.
Yeah, apologizes to Kamala, and like, hey, like I was kind of a dick. And I guess she like really doesn't like her being idolized, it seems, as like a hero.
Well, and yeah, I do like that idea of her showing up in her room and just seeing this Captain Marvel shit everywhere and being like, oh God. Like, I need to get out of here.
They're the worst kind of people.
I can't be like I can't be here. So that worked. Yeah, I think Iman is the star of this for sure in a lot of ways. I think Brie does what she can with what she's given. I like her look in this a lot. I think she looks a lot better.
Yeah, we were talking about the suits in the theater. I think, and I think we all agreed. I mean, the suits before were fine. Everyone gets new suits. Spectrum's is good.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Marvel's is too bright.
I liked her other one better. I really did.
Agreed.
I liked her first one more.
Yeah, and then Brie Larson's was too Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it's the color wise for sure. Yeah,
like
it was very.
suit.
I like the design very much. I think it looks dope. But the suit and the colors
being muted.
It's like it's that Superman dark navy with like that really. Honestly, not even like a muted red because that's almost more maroon.
Yeah, this is it's like this color, but like imagine just less bright.
Saturated. And the star. I think her design on her suit was much.
She like only goes binary once, and it's at the end where she restores Hollis' son, which was cool. Kind of like righting her wrongs. But it's weird that like she didn't come to that conclusion herself, I guess. But also she was like, I've never tried to get that powerful.
Yeah, she was
before.
like, I don't think I could do that.
So I guess it makes sense that she wouldn't have like assumed that she could like push above her limit.
Well, I mean, she has all the powers of a spaceship, so.
We were talking about that a lot. She's like, well, I guess it would like
she can fly, she can shoot lasers.
But you would just get tired flying to interplanetarily.
For sure. Well, yeah, and it's funny, you don't really know. I don't know, like she's supposed to be like so powerful that she can fuck with Thanos at least a little bit with all 5 Infinity Stones. And then she's just kind of getting tossed around by Dar-Ben. What? Like what? Like Dar-Ben is doing this? I don't know.
You know that's Tom Hiddleston's wife?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sucks for her.
Nepotism. Classic. No, I'm kidding. I think nepotism's only when it's a son or daughter.
It's such a small role.
Yeah, and again,
Lame
just
role.
something like,
there is no narrative depth in this movie at all. Like it is what you get and nothing more.
It's very shallow.
Yeah.
And that's where you can see. I was saying this on you can see the seams of this movie, and that's what's sad. I mean, Dan Merle, I said this in the theater. He said it was unreleasable.
Definitely not true.
I don't know if it's that. I wouldn't put it as that, but like
it's not like for me like Morbius bad, where like when we're talking about it, or like for me Venom.
Just
like this is actually probably a little bit better than those, but at the same time, it's like
Morbius, Venom. This
I have no idea, dude. I don't even want to.
Venom's definitely better than Morbius.
I don't even want to think about it.
Come on. Can we at least say that? I know it's not a tall bar, but like, can we at least get that?
Can we establish the standard, please?
Right.
But let's talk about the end, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, so
go for it.
Yeah, at the end, Dar-Ben opens up, tears open one too many portals, and it's exponentially growing, and we can see through the portal into this other universe. It looks like another Earth.
Yeah, another universe.
They say that they're breaking into the multiverse, not like just the power,
right?
Or
right.
Just
Using
the universe.
quantum bands as like like it's being pushed to the limit.
Exactly,
and
they're making
damage.
too many jump points.
Yeah.
So we get there. She kills herself by doing it. Darben, right? Doesn't she just die from?
Yeah, she uses
too
both
much power. A classic
She uses
thing.
both bangles and bam, dead. One thing we didn't mention, she is like basically a Ronin accuser.
She's an accuser
copy.
Yeah.
Which is kind of lame. And she's using the hammer again, which kind of gets named that it's like a special weapon, but it's definitely not Ronin's because it gets destroyed.
You're right. You pointed that out.
You know what's funny with the quantum band? She dies exactly like people died with
the
that
power stone.
With the power stone.
I thought
with
that
the
too.
purple like cracks.
So that makes sense to me. Like it's such a powerful object that using it like that hard, like fully to extent, will kill you. But yeah, she just dies after Captain Marvel tries
now
to
they're
say,
like, oh, we gotta close.
We gotta close this, and somehow Monica's like, my light powers can do it. You just need to supercharge me in the same way, whatever. And she has to fly through this portal and close it from the other side. Captain Marvel can't save her. She ends up sealing the portal from the other side. We have a kind of outro with Carol cleaning up her house. I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, and they go back to New York, and like Fury's like, "Where's Monica?" And like Miss Marvel's like, "We lost her."
Yeah, she didn't make
and
it.
That was kind of like like emotional, like damn, yeah. I mean,
it's
like,
sad.
Monica did,
and he's
sacrifice
been
herself.
and he's been working with her like pretty closely. It seems for a while now.
Yeah,
so that makes
since WandaVision,
probably one of his more serious moments in the movie. And then so it all ends. There's not really much else there besides that, and we get the post-credit scene, which as soon as someone started chatting, I knew who it was. Because I was like, "Is that?"
Yeah, there's no post credit scene, it's just a mid credit.
Just a mid. I'm sorry,
I did make Trio stay till the end of the movie.
He did, and I was cursing him and damning him
like,
the whole time. I was like, "This is stupid." But
you were like,
I was like, "Can we go? I want to go home."
He's like, I want to play video games before I go to bed. I'm just like, shut
You're
up.
like, watch the fucking credits, bitch.
You want to hear the cat sounds at the end?
Yeah,
that's
true.
what you stayed for.
And it's Monica sitting in a hospital bed, and we hear someone talking like, you shouldn't have made
no Maria Rambeau, her mom
right
is
he
sitting
wakes
there.
up and sees her mom,
and she like
and
freaks
she's like,
out.
mom, yeah, and has this whole moment which works very well, and she's like, oh, I'm your mom. Oh,
Like what?
yeah, like, oh shit.
Yeah, she clearly isn't.
Yeah, in this universe.
Right.
And then you hear a voice that's like, oh, you seem to have come from a parallel dimension. And fucking Beast walks by. A very uncannily CG
Yes,
Beast.
hard CG.
Yeah,
probably honestly, and we'll bring it up now. The CG in this one was pretty good, but that was bad.
But that shows, you know why, I think? Because that was put in like
Last minute.
What do we do? What do
They're
we do?
not on
What do we
scene
do?
together.
Like,
it's a cutaway. They can do it easy. Yeah.
Yes. So it's Beast, and it's Kelsey Grammer Beast.
Yeah. So that means the X-Men 1, 2, 3 Beast.
And they were talking about. He's talking about like you came from another dimension. We didn't think this was possible, but it is. And
Maria Rambeau is their Captain Marvel, but she's binary,
yeah.
which is another version of. It's in between.
It's like supercharged.
It's in between Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, like when Captain Marvel was Miss Marvel.
She's got such a weird history.
Yeah,
it's
a
really,
lot
it's
of
very
evolutions
convoluted.
with her character.
Yeah.
But a binary is basically a form of her where she's like always binary and kind of glowy and hot in terms of like
she's
her
like
hair's
supernova.
on fire.
Yeah.
She's like supernova up. Yeah. And
that's just it. I mean, which is cool, but all the stuff that precedes it, I'm like,
so, in my opinion, I had time to think about this. This is a setup not for the X-Men in the MCU. I think this is a setup for that X-Men universe being a part of Secret Wars.
and I think it's a setup for Deadpool.
Also possible.
Yeah.
Also possible Deadpool 3 is a setup for Secret Wars.
So that's the rumor.
Yeah, because
right
I'm like, this is not our
That's a preamble.
X-Men characters for the MCU. I'm like, there's no way they would recast all these old people to be in like the new.
Oh, no. And
Yeah.
I mean, Feige said something recently. He's like, everything's canon, technically, because we have the multiverse now.
Yeah.
So,
And
everything can be brought in.
And
I'm
that's
like,
how I came to that conclusion.
Oh, and
like,
I agree.
I would expect, Halle Berry and like all those people. I mean,
there's been rumors abound about who's showing up.
Patrick Stewart came back for, Professor
Logan,
X
yeah.
and Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I expect the rest of, those X-Men movie people to come back for Secret Wars, just like Kelsey Grammer did for this cameo, to kind of tee off that. And, that universe is now wider. Having a Captain Marvel and maybe some other characters in it would make sense.
Deeper and wider, like the corporate speak likes to say.
Sure.
That's what they use in all our meetings.
Gross.
We need to get in there. I know, I don't get it. We need to get in there deeper and wider. Why are we saying that? Anyways, there's a lot going on, and
I think the end credit scene is good, but again, I wouldn't recommend you go out and watch this. I kind of wish I said at the beginning, watch our review and look up some Easter egg videos. Do not waste your money to go see this. I don't think I've ever said that about a Marvel movie, but I don't think this is worth your time.
Yeah, I think you can get away with waiting to be quite frank, if that's what you want to do. I mean, dude, we saw a dad walk in there with his 2 kids. I'm like, with a full like a candy and a popcorn for each of them. Like, that's $120 night, easy.
Yeah, our
so
theater
I think that's
was honestly probably just as much people that were at Blue Beetle.
Yeah,
and I think this movie is going to make less than Blue Beetle.
Oh, thank you for bringing up.
Yeah, the box office has set records as the lowest opening day, the lowest Thursday before, the lowest weekend box office. I think it was 45 million.
I think you were right.
The projected number was
47 million.
The projected number was 75 to 80,
which isn't as bad as what it. You know what the original projections were? They were split like back in like when it's like good like 200, like way higher than this. They dialed it down.
The fact that it beat the Flash beat this and the Blue Beetle beat this is pretty wild.
It is kind of wild.
It is really wild. But like if Marvel has to react to this,
47 million.
They really don't have a choice. They made no money, and they're not going to make money.
Can you give me a call? Like, I just would love to chat. Just like, what's
come on
going
DNN.
on? Come on DNN. We can work through this all.
You can't have your hat on though. Not in my.
We need to see what's under that.
Yeah. No hat.
Anything else, Cooch?
That's it, man.
Well,
it's a shame we went from Loki season 2 to this. It's like, well, really good high, and now like the lowest low.
And that's what I mean.
Had.
Like, again, we've kind of talked about it to death, and I feel like the conversation's been talked to death in general. But the superhero fatigue thing, like,
it's in full effect.
No. It's bad story fatigue.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm so like like Guardians did great. Like fucking Doctor Strange did well. I think Deadpool 3 is going to be another one of those things that
and
really
it is
makes,
and I'm glad you brought that up again. It is our only MCU film next year.
Yeah.
We have no shows.
Which is really because of the strike. Like, I'd be curious in another world where the strike didn't happen.
Dude, it's so funny that podcast we did about the MCU Phase 5. It's like absolutely worthless at this point.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
much has changed.
Give it a listen, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably interesting to hear what we talk about, but like the schedule is fucking in the wind. Like,
well, dude, I mean, the amount of hours of content that are in just like Phase 5, 4 alone compared to like the other ones, it's more than double. And there's an issue in that, and I think that comes partly from the higher-ups. I'm not going to exclude Kevin Feige because he's had his hand in this, but it just still blows me away that he goes from like the Infinity Saga to just kind of blowing it out too far like this on his own fruition. Like, I don't know. But we'll see. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We are on all the social medias as well. Delco Nerds on basically everything. We have a Facebook page, Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. You can find this information on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. You can also email us. All your comments, questions, or concerns, delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. Like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend. It all goes a long way. We really appreciate you all. For Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.